Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Kelsey Ducheneau. I'm the Natural Resources Director for the Intertribal Agriculture Council. We're so fortunate to have you all here with us today for another segment in our beef marketing webinar series. We've had some phenomenal questions and network building so far throughout the series, and we're really happy to have a guest speaker with us today, Lacey Block. Lacey and her family ranch near Havana, North Dakota. Lacey is the sixth generation of a cow-calf operation. Lacey is the owner and operator of Ranchers Rebellion Beef Company. And today, Lacey is going to share some of her experiences with us this afternoon as they relate to marketing, packaging, and distributing beef as a direct sales business owner. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick it right over to you, Lacey. For those of you that are attending, if you have questions throughout the recorded webinar, please drop them in the chat or the Q&A, and we will address those questions as they roll in at the end of Lacey's presentation. Thanks, Lacey.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. I'm glad you could log in and learn a little bit more about direct marketing. Be sure to definitely submit your questions. There's a lot of information to cover, so we'll try to get everyone as much information as I can. So basically what had happened is I started off doing freezer beef, quartered by the pound, and found a real need for by the pound convenient more purchases. Sometimes quarters can be tough due to the amount of money they cost, amount of storage, and a person just not needing that much product at one time. So I created Ranchers Rebellion Beef Company out of necessity for needing to generate more income from our ranch to ensure our future as independent cow-calf operators. We're now a unique company that offers a start-to-finish farm product all through local small businesses. So how my business model kind of works, essentially, to be able to direct market, you need to be USDA federal or state inspected. And that's basically your starting place. And then my primary outlet is retail. I have freezers located in several different gas stations around our area. It was easier for me to do the retail freezers versus having to always be delivering products to people. And I also purchase from other ranchers around my area that finish the same way I do as well, and I'm able to pay them well over market value for their cattle. So basically, if you're going to want to ask yourself, where's your nearest USDA facility? Some people I've talked to do travel 3-4 hours away just to get to a USDA facility. And for me, logistically, that didn't work. So I was fortunate enough that ours was 40 miles away from us. You're going to want to think about how many head of cattle you have and where you can find other cattle around you. For me, I do not use any soy-based feeds, no silage. I don't use anything that's any added hormones, and everything has to be under 30 months old because that's how the mouthing process works at the USDA facilities. So that's how I came up with the 30-month rule. Then you're going to want to figure out, how do you want to deliver to consumers? Do you want to use retail locations? Do you want to go and do farmers markets? Do you want to ship nationwide? These are all options a person can think of. There's also CSA programs out there too. I think there's cooperative grocery stores in the Bismarck area, I believe. They all will be outlets a person can use. But once you kind of figure out how you want to get the beef to the consumer. You're also going to want to have to figure out where you're going to store your overflow. I know in North Dakota, you need to have a permit and then an inspected location where you store your overflow, and you need to have a quality control process in steps that are either up to USDA standards or exceeding USDA standards as well. With retail information, so for me, I was concerned about using too big of gas stations, the franchise sides of things, and how to get in there. So I started with just a small local business in Britain, South Dakota, and that was a pretty convenient and easy way for me to get into an actual store setting. Currently, I am working with a franchised facility, and the paperwork and what's required is a lot of work to get all that information in. And then you need to be prepared for what your retailer is going to want from you for moving their product, whether they want to buy your product and they'll mark up themselves. For me, I shouldn't say allow, but I don't want that to happen. Especially, I'm glad I thought about this at a time with what's going on with beef prices on the rise at such an astronomical rate right now. I'm glad that I'm able to maintain the same prices before COVID started and during COVID. So my retailers do not change my prices. They use the prices I put on our products, and then I give them a percentage for using their location. So be prepared for that when you start making your price points, whether it's 50%, 20%, but you're going to have that markup on there. And then ensure your logistics makes sense. My retailers, I have one that's 20 miles away from me. And then I have actually my dad does another one for me, and that because that one's 45 miles from me, and I just can't be there all the time. So he's taking care of that one to ensure that your products are always available for consumers. The biggest thing with direct marketing is marketing. I felt I needed a way to be able to separate myself from the other 20,000 farm labels out there. So that's where I came up with a bolder name. I do have a license and trademark under my name, so people can't use the same name at all. I'm a registered LLC. That's another big thing, is separating yourself from your farm, your business from your farm. It just is to protect you a little bit more. So we're Ranchers Rebellion LLC. I'm a sole or single member LLC, and that process was really easy. I do use an attorney firm out of Sioux Falls. Woods Fuller is who I use for my legal work. And then you're going to want to have a standard product. This is a hard process, making sure anybody I buy from is producing and finishing the same way I am. And I've been pretty fortunate, and my sizes of steaks, they do vary quite a bit, but that's actually been kind of an appeal to consumers because you can get anywhere from an 8-ounce steak to an 18-ounce steak. So I've been able to compensate for how hard it is to get that standard size product by offering in my bundles, beef bundles I do for people. I just say I have small, medium, and large ribeyes. What would you prefer? They're between these ounces and these ounces. So that's been good. Pricing is a very hard thing. How do you price to not price yourself out of the market, but to make it worth your time? So what I did is I essentially measured my inputs to the business. And then I did look at the grocery store market, and I did look at other comparable farm to table products. And we're pasture raised, and I corn finish. So for me, I researched people who grain finish because the grass finished market is a different price point than what I am. And then you want to look at your area and see what it has to offer. I have a community that's 10 miles away from me. There's about 300 people in the area. They have no grocery store. So with the convenience store in town, bringing a farm to table product of our beef there was a huge benefit to the community. But you're just going to want to look at your area and see where are some high traffic areas that are around you, because with consumers want to be able to buy a farm to table product. Being convenient is where a person needs to be with it, because anybody can go out to a farm and buy from a producer, but being able to do it conveniently is a whole nother issue. You need to separate yourself from the crowd. I can't speak bigger about brand recognition. And then you need to pick a consumer market. For me, it's my consumer market is basically it's basically everybody, I guess. There are ways with your beef, depending on how you raise them, that you're going to be able to drive to a specific consumer market, whether you're able to be organic, grass-fed, grass-finished, no shots, no hormones, however you want to do it. I am just a natural diet, and that's all I get into. And we do have conventional corn going in this year. Otherwise, we just used our regular corn. One of the bigger parts in direct marketing, especially when you're able to be face-to-face with your consumers, is being able to educate them on your farm, on the process of raising your cattle, and the importance that they bring to your business by being there. And then establish what your principles are. So like, I want to be able to maintain us being independent producers. I don't want to have to worry about a contract market, and I don't want to worry about the volatility that the cattle industry can be. Some of my other values that I talk about a lot of the times is box beef profit margins, and then really promoting your local economy. That's been one of my biggest driving factors with our community support, is because of how much money I'm able to put into our local economy. And I really want to be able to have a way to encourage farm success. So basically with my brand is what I do is I help other producers move their products to a consumer market as well. So I get paid essentially a consulting fee to do this for other ranchers as well and help them with marketing. It's been insanely beneficial for another producer that has just joined on recently. They were able to sell out very fast because there's already an established customer base with our product. With direct marketing, there is a lot of regulations. You need to make sure you really know what they are. Between the USDA, your Department of Health is a big one, the Food and Lodging Division. You need to protect yourself, and that's one of the main points that I try to tell anybody I talk to, whether they are wanting to use our label or whether whether I'm just helping them with their own business. You need to bring your product in a unique way. You need to do something that is going to separate yourself. The convenience store thing and being like so heavily exposed has really, really been great for our business. The amount of customers we're able to reach with our retail locations is pretty incredible. Another thing with direct marketing, it's very demanding. It takes quite a bit of time, and you're going to need to be able to accommodate your customers. And that's another thing with the convenience. I can't drive that enough as far as if you want to do deliveries, it's a busy thing to keep up with, but you're going to want to accommodate your customers in any way that you can. With bringing producers together, I've had the opportunity to be able to bring in for Thursday, a direct marketing event I'm doing in Fargo. I'm able to bring in a pork producer, a lamb producer, somebody else that does like specialty jerkies. Someone's bringing eggs. Everybody, it's an opportunity for us to all market for each other. This does really take a strong group of people to be able to project what you're doing and being appealing to the customers. So I have my own label, and I do have one of the processing plants that I use. There's something wrong with their label machine. So they're having issues with it this week, and my product will not have my label on it coming out of there. And at one other time, the same thing happened. It wasn't a big deal. My customers did not mind at all. I really thought that was going to be an issue, but it was not. But with what I do from the consulting side of things is I do the FSIS labeling for the facilities, and I have that set up there's multiple different label machine brands out there. It just depends what your butcher shop has. I fortunately work with two of the biggest names in label machines, so I'm in their system already, so it's been pretty easy to get my label to other processing plants that I need to. And I just really feel like having the same advertisement is really important to us. All of our freezers look the same. Being able to recognize us is a really big deal. Keeping small business is one of the best things with direct marketing that we get to do, and anybody who does it, because we're all using local smaller processing plants, and it is seriously making a difference. So that's really neat. And being kind is another thing that my consumers really appreciate, like just genuine transparency, just being a good person, taking the greed out of how operations can be. I mean, we are at a point where we're against a whole lot of other competition with the packing industry and whatnot. So really bringing to customers that, hey, we're just ranchers and that's all we are, is just a big deal. With the consumer issues, like I said before, picking your crowd and who you want to appeal to, that's really a very important part of it. How you're going to get the product to them. And another thing with it is you're always going to have people that are going to disagree with you. You're going to have people that talk bad about your prices. One thing is just always remember you're not competing with what the grocery stores can do. And that's just brush it off. I get a lot of backlash from time to time from people, but it's just important to just kind of don't let it get to you, because it can be discouraging. Preparing for trouble you need to make sure your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted 100% of the time. You need to make sure you know your USDA regulations, what your state needs for any permits. Your business needs to be registered so that you have a tax permit. And just every single town, every county, and every state are different. Whenever I go into a different town to just do a pop-up shop, I call the town, the health department, and their commerce department as well. And I ask them if they need anything at all. Fargo is one where they have a separate health department. Sioux Falls is one. They have a separate city health department. So you need to just make sure you know exactly what your rules and regulations are in that area. But contact the health department is one of the first steps. I will give an example of some of the, going back to the trouble that can happen. I live in Havana, North Dakota, which I'm 15 feet into South Dakota. So I'm a South Dakota resident with a South Dakota registered business. But I have a Havana, North Dakota address. My retail locations actually got shut down by the health department in North Dakota a few weeks ago because they couldn't figure out that where I was from, and they thought I didn't have my permits up to date. What they did was completely illegal. Luckily, I knew what they were doing was 100% wrong, so I was able to overcome it. But the USDA and the health departments, they are, I wouldn't say they're targeting producers at all. They're looking to enforce their rules and regulations. So just make sure you know exactly what they are, because when something happens, it happens really fast. So here, a little bit about my business model is, when I first started, everyone asked, oh, how are you gonna grow? How are you gonna grow? And I said, I want the business to scale itself. So I'm going to be in 8 locations, 8 retail locations within a couple weeks here. My advertisement girl is actually wrapping my freezers right now. But so I'll have 8 locations. I have 2 restaurants, and it's a lot. That's more than I can handle. My dad had to come in and he's helping me with some distributions, because I also do the pop-up shops, and then I do beef bundles that I deliver to consumers. So it's just a lot, and I'm maxed out right now. So I knew that would happen, as it does with every business, but I want it to be successful, and I do want it to grow. So that's where I have other producers scaling it for me using the same brand, business model, etc. standards. We all do the same thing, and they're able to scale it so that we can have a lot of recognition. We cover around 150 miles right now, so that's it's a big area, and people like actually know our brand. So that's really been helpful. When I had in my head already I wasn't going to scale it larger myself. In my ideal vision is that there is one of me every 45 miles, just because I'm able to buy from producers for a pretty decent money. Direct marketing isn't for everybody, that's for sure, but everybody can be positively impacted by what I'm doing in our area. So that's been pretty cool. Being another thing is, being producer friendly. Any of the producers I buy from, they'll recommend their friends to call me with their cattle. I have a very large list of producers around my area that all finish the same way I do, just so they can specifically sell to me. We're on target to do 300 head this year, and I'm in the works with trying to get something done to get a processing plant, so then we'd be up into 500 head a year. So it's it's not a huge impact, but in my area, it is kind of making a little bit of impact. Being consumer friendly, that high quality that high quality farm raised product, the customers, oh, the reviews that I get, and they're like, how do you do this? How do you finish the best steak I ever ate? And I say, everybody, we all do. Anybody that farm finishes, it's seriously the best beef in the entire world, and we have it available, and to bring it to the consumers conveniently has just been amazing. Oops. So that's kind of a little bit about what my business is. I know there's no way that I can cover everybody, but if there are any questions about what we're doing, I can tell you a little bit about our beef. So my standard of how I do our beef is 14-day dry aging, packaging one animal at a time. The ground beef, I have the silver skin removed, and it contains no organs, meats, and we also grind all of our undesirable roasts and undesirable steaks into our burger, and everything is just pasture raised. Some of the products we carry, I wanted to create a way to have a manageable amount of inventory without overwhelming myself. So I do ribeye steak, T-bone steak, sirloin steak, ground beef, and I'm actually feeding right now for a 93% ground beef, but my standard ground beef is 85%. I do short ribs, I do the brisket, and I was concerned about brisket and moving it and storing it because they can get pretty big, but I've been able to get hooked up with a catering person and some other big grilling type people. So I actually have been able to move a lot of the brisket, or all of it, I guess. I carry beef heart, I carry the liver, I carry oxtail and tongue. The heart and tongue I have, and kidneys, I carry kidneys as well, just because, well, I'm originally from the Sisseton area, so I have a retail cooler in Peeper, South Dakota, and that's on the reservation, and our customers there wanted kidneys. So that's been kind of neat to be able to bring in these different diverse dishes. So we do the kidneys, but the heart and the tongue, I do not keep in my retail freezers. That has to be specifically requested to me just because of the appeal side of them sitting in there. I decided to not do that. I also do the oxtail. That's a very value added cut. I do soup bones as well. I offer those in like bundle bags because soup bones take up a lot of room and there's a whole lot of them, but they are just a little bit more, or just a little more value added to your business. But those are the items that, oh, I do chuck roast as well. And chuck roast is the only roast that I carry, just because I didn't want to get overwhelmed with trying to store or have in freezers anything less desirable. And then we are going to be adding here the end of May a snack stick, beef jerky, custom beef hot dogs, kind of thing. So that'll be nice too. But a person just needs to be careful when they get going in this to not bite off more than you can chew and overwhelm yourself. So that's where I just started with a smaller product list and kind of moved forward from there. But I can open up to questions here.
Lacey, we do have one question. You'd mentioned that your maximum age on cattle for slaughter was 30 months. What's the best age that you've found?
I myself, the only reason I say 30 months is because that's where the mouthing happens at the processing plant. For me, I do 17 to 20 months. But there's really no way to specifically age them to say that's exactly what they are. I can't say that. So everything just is under 30 months.
Gotcha. Yeah. A reminder to all of the webinar attendees, if you do have questions, drop them into the chat box or the Q&A box. I do have a few more that have kind of come up throughout your presentation, Lacey. I'll just mention them to you now. One of them was you had mentioned how determining, and it's back on the price point of your beef product. And you mentioned you really appreciated the fact that given the current price gouging that's taking place with a lot of meat across the country, you felt fortunate that you had worked out a discussion with your retail locations that you would control your product price. How has that all kind of played out through COVID, and what were some of those discussions that you had with the retail location to get started?
So basically I just presented my retailers that I use with it. It's on the side of our coolers, kind of like our business motto or whatnot. So I had presented basically that to them, and I just told them how important it was for me to be able to control the prices, just so that we don't price ourselves out of the market. Up here in Northeast South Dakota, there is a lot of cattle around. A lot of people raise cattle, so the access to farm raised beef it's pretty accessible around here. So if they marked up my prices to like where wholesale can be, I feel that nothing would have moved out of our freezers.
Great, thank you for that. We had another question come in on how long you hang your butchers.
14 days.
14 days
is how long we hang them. My plant, that's just standard at both of the plants that I use. And with that, everybody's been happy with that. I know some people will do 21 days, but with the volume we're doing and paying for processing each animal, it would get really expensive to start having to pay for extra cooler space. And I'm guessing actually with the huge demand in butchering that I don't think any butcher shops would let us hang longer at the current moment. They're trying to get beef out of their coolers as fast as they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question came in. Can you speak a little bit about your experience working with employees at the retail locations? Did you have to train them at all on how to sell your beef or how to direct questions back to you regarding your beef?
This has been just blew my mind. I thought there was going to be a need for a training process with the employees to understand. Number one, it's like I'm invested to each cut of meat, so it's very important for them to be able to not break the packaging, or I just wanted them to understand the importance of this product. And I never had to do that. The employees at the gas stations love this. They absolutely love having just different customers that go into the stores and talk to them about this. And they have my brochures. I have little brochures that I hand out when I go places. Anyways, so they had already educated themselves, and it's been super cool. They're like, oh, I sold $200 worth of beef today. And someone else will pop up, well, I did that in an hour or something. It's been a very awesome experience with the employees at the gas stations that I never ever anticipated having, but it's been cool.
Yeah, that sounds like some amazing relationships you're getting to build that aren't typical. Yeah. And another attendee asked, what size of facility do you have or utilize?
One of the processing plants is I think 5,000 square feet. And I think that's all the other one is. Or no, the other one might be bigger than that as well. So this is another struggle that has kind of came up now. One of my places can only process 7 beef a week. Well, I had moved up to almost their entire customer base. So they can't allow me anymore, because otherwise they'd be putting basically all their eggs in one basket. And I don't blame them at all for not letting me be the only person that processes there. I think that would be bad for their business as well. So that's where I have to use 2 plants. And now I actually, in July, I have to go into 3 plants. So, and that's where the logistics are so important, because, and that's why I'm really looking into purchasing my own plant, because I spend 3 days a week just driving around for beef, basically between hauling cattle, picking up beef, driving to different butcher shops. It's almost 3 days a week.
Great, thank you for answering that question as well. One came up a little bit earlier. Is there any ways in which you've had to shift your business model during COVID-19, or what's the supply and demand been like for you as a direct sales business?
So when I first started my whole entire business model, it was only going to be strictly you buy beef at the retail locations, because I want to maximize my time with my kids, I guess. When COVID hit, basically the retail locations slowed down a ton. And I had to switch it up a little bit. And that's when I did the nationwide shipping. That got out of control. The demand was way too hard to manage for me, while I was doing local deliveries as well to compensate for the slower foot traffic in the retail outlets. And then I started the pop-up sales, just because otherwise I would be delivering constantly. The demand that COVID has brought to direct marketers is incredible. I I go through 4 head a week right now, and I could easily, I'm almost positive I could move through 10 head a week. So it has been very, very busy.
There was another question. Have you considered online direct sales, or what's been your experience with them so far?
Okay, so online direct sales are great if you want to get involved with it. Make sure you watch what your shipping costs are. The first time I did it, I did not realize there was a limit at my post office. I did not realize a lot of stuff. Make sure you have very stable packaging. Meat, it can't be shipped air. There's something weird about shipping meat. It has to be ground shipped. So I did 2-day priority is what I did, and it was extremely expensive in certain regions. Like I shipped down to, I shipped a box that was like maybe 35, 40 pounds to Kansas, and I had a standard shipping charge of $20. And it costs $90 to ship there. So I had to, or 60, I think it was 60 actually. I think it was 60. But anyway, so I had to pay that out of my pocket. And then with the COVID going on, I had a shipping issue with a delay of shipment. And so just making sure you have a very reliable shipping process in hand. The vet clinics, they'll give you free coolers, those styrofoam coolers, they'll load you up. Go ask your vet for those. They have tons of ice packs they'll just give you. And so that's what I've done. And I actually use those styrofoam coolers for my direct delivery sales. If somebody calls me, places an order, and pays for it, then I'll go in turn and just drop a cooler outside their door. And that has been a very positive factor for people deciding to purchase from me, actually, is because they're able, with the COVID, they're able to not have any contact with anybody if they choose not to.
Wonderful. I have another question here. Could you go into greater detail of the less desirable cuts that you decided to have ground? And also, does that increase the value of your ground beef?
Um, it it potentially could, I suppose. I just choose to not. My ground beef is at 4.75 a pound. Just a for anybody thinking about how to price, there's one you can go off of or whatever. But anyways, so I didn't want to get overran was my issue. So I have like stew meat, the uh gosh, I'm just trying, but the sirloin tip roast, like things that I don't like, I guess is kind of how I decided what to put on there. Cube steak. I don't care for that either. So I was like, my base of the business is essentially that everybody deserves to eat like a rancher. And I don't like those cuts. So I didn't put them in. I threw them just the way I cut personally myself and had my beef cut for years is basically what I did, except for the organs. And I really enjoy getting to deal with the different cultures and hear about their dishes with the organs. We actually have South Africans that work up here also, and they make a lot of very unique things. So it's been so cool with the different cultures and different dishes.
Great. And so you mentioned a little bit earlier, you're from a family ranching operation. How has your family been involved in this business? And, if someone is thinking about starting a direct sales business for the benefit of their operation, how does the family play into really engaging the business on the operation?
Yes, this is a family affair, especially with COVID because my oldest kid hasn't been in school for a long time. So I've had an extra beef carrier around. So that's been nice. My boyfriend actually does most of like when I'm doing the direct marketing stuff, he is responsible for all of the cattle. And so we kind of just divide and to make this work, just kind of divide and conquer the lists of the day. If I have to be gone, I know that all the cattle are taken care of and I can focus on this. Basically, that was one of our bigger points of why we started doing this is because I was working as a nurse and I wasn't home like I wanted to be home, and we needed it was more beneficial to our family for me to be home most of the time. And then as this whole thing has started to grow, my dad actually he's going to finish some of his cattle, and he also comes with me on my direct sale days just because like when I went to Fargo there was 30 people that were already standing there right when I pulled up. And it's a lot at one time. So he helps me a lot with the direct sales days. And actually I had him haul cattle for me today too. So, so I could be here. So that was great that I'm able to have that help from our family. But yeah, we do everything together, I guess, all sides of it.
Great. And one question that just came in, do you keep detailed records on your frequent customers? I know it's probably hard with retail locations, but maybe for larger purchases?
What I'm not sure what that.
I think what the question is meaning is, do you have like a customer consumer relations management software or anything that you do to kind of track how much product a particular family is buying from you?
Oh, no, I guess I keep track of like when I do a beef bundles, I just have those just because I have those. I've highly, like when I do the pop-up sale kind of things, I really, really discourage against any panic buying just because I don't want to pull up somewhere and have somebody buy all of my beef and I don't get to do anything with anybody else. And so I've been very discouraging on that. But luckily people are starting to understand, like I process 2 to 3 times a week and I have beef coming in all the time. So it's been now that people are starting to understand that, it's been a little bit less of, can we buy 500 pounds of hamburger?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and what a confidence that you're placing in the consumer to know that they're buying directly from the rancher and they can have faith in the fact that they're going to have access to more product in the future. Right now, that is all of the questions that we've had today. And I think that our attendees did a really good job of throwing all the questions at you. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you a few minutes. If you have any final remarks or tips before we go, I'll turn it back over to you and let you close us out.
Okay, well, thanks everyone, and thanks for the questions. Up here is all of my contact information. If you're interested in direct marketing your product, don't hesitate to reach out to me or any other ranchers that are involved in direct marketing. We truly want this to be a successful avenue for a lot of family farms out there. And I thank everybody.
All right, thank you very much, Lacey. For everybody that joined us this afternoon, we will be posting a recording of this webinar on our YouTube channel for reference back to. I actually was able to find Lacey through a random Facebook post and gave her a call, and she just kind of dropped what she was doing and was able to take that call, and I really appreciate that and look forward to seeing her continue to build her business. She's doing a phenomenal job of that. So thank you for joining us, Lacey, and thank you for those that joined us to learn alongside Lacey's knowledge and expertise, and we hope everybody stays safe and has a great afternoon.
Thank you.